Hi guys, I'm Kayla and I'll be teaching you price elasticity of demand. So we have law of demand and we're going to do a review of what it states. So consumers will buy more when prices go down and less when prices go up. So elasticity is about determining how much or how less. So price elasticity of demand is the measure of how responsive the quantity demand is to changes in price. So the formula for this is percent change in quantity demanded over change in price. So in order for you to do that equation, you need to know how to do percent change. And percent change is the new number minus the old number over the old number times by 100. So inelastic demand is quantity is insensitive to a change in price. So if price increases, quantity demanded will fall a little. And if price decreases, quantity demanded will increase. And this happens because products that have an inelastic demand have very few substitutes. An example of this would be gasoline, because there aren't any substitutes to a car, and you will need gasoline for the car to work. So for an inelastic graph, the demand curve is steep, which is shown in the picture. A few characteristics of inelastic demand would be that it has very little substitutes. It's a necessity to us. It takes up a small portion of our income, and it's required now rather than later, which means that we need it on a daily basis. An elasticity coefficient of less than 1. A few examples of these would be medical care, utilities, and milk. So medical care can't be substituted for anything. It's a necessity of ours, which is also the same for utilities, as we need water and power to live. Next up, we have elastic demand. So elastic demand is when quantity is sensitive to change in price. So if price increases, quantity demand will fall. And if price decreases, quantity demand will increase. And an example of this would be real estate. And this happens because when the houses of price increases, the quantity will demand as consumers aren't willing to buy the house at a high price. So right here we have the elastic graph, and the elastic demand curve is flat. And something to note is that it can vary along a linear demand curve, which means that elasticity is not a slope, and we cannot determine the elasticity of a graph based off the slope. A few characteristics of elastic demand is that it has many substitutes, and this is related to the luxuries of an item because we don't really need an item. It takes up a large portion of our income, which means that we wouldn't have plenty of time to decide, as it is a luxury item, and it has elasticity coefficient of greater than 1. A few examples of these would be beef, vehicles, and electronics. So next up, we have unit elastic demand. So the price goes up by a certain amount of percent, then the quantity goes down by that certain percent. So it's basically the idea that if price increases, then the quantity will decrease. So if price goes up by 20%, the quantity goes down by 20%, and the coefficient of this would be 1. Next up, we have perfectly inelastic and elastic demand. So for price elasticity demand, it's when the quantity demanded changes infinitely with any change in price, which is shown in the graph as demand increases, price will always increase. And for price inelastic demand, quantity demand does not change with price, and as you can see in the graph, demand is a horizontal line, which means price would always stay with demand. So we have I have a few practice questions for you guys to do. The question for this one is, which of the following statements about the elasticity of demand is true? 1. When demand is price inelastic, total revenue will decrease as price increases. 2. When demand is price elastic, an increase in price will increase total revenue. 3. Demand tends to be more elastic in the short run compared to the long run. 4. As more close substitutes become available, demand trends to be more price elastic. 5. As a good becomes viewed as a necessity, necessity, demand becomes more price elastic. So I'll give you a few seconds to choose an answer, and we'll go over the answer in the next slide. So the answer for this question is 4. As more close substitutes become available, demand trends to be more price elastic. The next question we have is, which of the following will tend to make the demand for a product more elastic? 1. New firms which produce similar products enter the industry. 4. A change in taste and preference makes the product more desirable. 3. The product is necessary for use with a complement. 4. Production of the product is protected by a patent. And 5. Production costs of the product decreases. The answer for this question would be 1. New firms which produce similar products enter the industry. Next up, we have total revenue test. So total revenue test is when we use elasticity to show how change in price will affect total revenue. So for inelastic demand, if the price increases cause a TR to increase. When price decreases, TR will also decrease. For elastic demand, as price increases, the TR will decrease, and if price decreases, TR will increase. And for unit elastic, price change and TR remains unchanged. And thank you for watching.